So welcome to another edition of the Diversity Dialogue. With me, I have two guests, both from Cardinal Health. I have Bree Barrier and I have Caitlin Kiska. Welcome to the show, Bree and Caitlin.
Thank you. Hello.
So starting off with the first question is really about introduction. So Bree and Caitlin, why don't you talk about your journey to where you are right now, and then we can dive in. Bree, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I'm Bree Barrier. I didn't really have a normal path into cybersecurity. Originally, I was a 35 Tango / 33 Whiskey in the Army, and you can't really throw that on a resume. So what you have to do is you have to translate it into business speak. So I went, okay, what did I do a lot in the Army? I worked on computers, I worked on the network. So I put down network system admin. And that, pulled me in to cybersecurity when I got out and gave me my first job in the SOC.
Got it. Caitlin, what's your journey look like?
So I'm Caitlin Kiska. I'm on our threat intel team. I got into cybersecurity a little over 2 years ago. Before that, I was playing online poker for a living, and that's what I did for most of my 20s, which is it's very atypical. And basically, I was looking kind of in a nutshell. Online poker is doing data analysis. That's really what it is. And it's looking for outliers and traffic and things like that, and making your strategy so you can take advantage of that. And those are all things at the end of the day that actually are really transferable to cybersecurity and data science in general. So.
Wow, that's amazing. I wouldn't have made the connection, but yeah, now that you mentioned that, and there seems to be a lot of.
It's there, and it's really easy when you explain to people. All you're really doing is looking for outlier traffic, but with cards, and it's a math game. So it's when you explain it to people, it's particularly online poker. There's a lot of transferable skills. So.
Got it. Which actually leads me to the next question. So let's stick with you, Caitlin, for a bit. Is what are some of the biggest myths that are prevalent today, especially from an outsider's perspective coming into cybersecurity? Like, what are some of the artificial barriers that have been raised, and then once you're in, you realize, okay, that thing is total BS, right?
To me, I think to be completely frank with you, I think a lot of the myths are true. It's a really hard industry to get into. I think a lot of people told me they're like, the hardest thing though is getting into cybersecurity. And that's the hardest part. And once you're in, it's actually a lot easier to transfer jobs and continue moving up to different companies and stuff like that. And also, I think I will say one of the biggest myths, which is it's kind of twofold, because there's a lot of people who are in networking, help desk, sysadmin positions who really, really want to get into cybersecurity, and they're having a hard time doing it. It's not as easy as people think it is. And I think one of the myths is that like this is the background that everyone wants. And while that does help, not everyone who has that background can move into cybersecurity. So that's what I would say.
Bree, your thoughts again, given your background as a network system admin.
Yeah, again, when I got in originally 10 years ago, you didn't need this mountain of experience. You didn't need all these certifications then. In today's world, you need something to get in.
Yeah.
It's not just an open door anymore. Back when I got in, there was an incredible need, and not a lot of people wanted in. Now that it's insane. It's a different beast.
So again, going down that path, which was very interesting, right? Which is, on the one hand, the need for cybersecurity has never been higher, right? And it's only increasing right now. On the other hand, you also have this enormous group of talent of people wanting to break in, right? Both mid-career changers as well as newcomers coming in. And yet, as you were pointing out, Bree, the ceiling has gone up, or the barrier has gone up in terms of, so again, given your experience, I mean, what is it that's preventing us from actually absorbing some of these new people, maybe from non-traditional backgrounds?
I think mainly it is a lot of the leadership. They're now looking for these certificates, because you got to think back then, there weren't all these cyber security certificates. Now that's became a more mainstream opportunity and career path. there's all these certificates, and like any other job, they want you to have certificates and training and have 10 years experience before you
Yeah.
can do the entry level job.
So Caitlin, again, coming back to the certification aspect of it, right? And I've had a few guests who've talked about this specifically, which is saying, hey, the certification tells you your book knowledge, but transferring that into actual real life situations, again, how realistic is it? Say, if I have a I don't know, CompTIA or Security Plus training, it means that, hey, Ashwin is going to be effective when there's a ransomware attack.
I don't, if you're expecting someone who has a Network Plus or Security Plus to be effective in a ransomware attack, you're doing it wrong. I think so. Part of the reason I got my first job in cybersecurity was because I had a Network Plus and Security Plus, and it was recommended very, very highly for me. And basically, I don't think it shows you at least have a base amount of knowledge, I think. But again, also too, it's based on standardized testing, which a lot of people are very bad standardized testers. And just to kind of pivot to, again, why there's this shortage, I think there's, as Bree said, there's a lot of people who are kind of requiring all these certs, 10 years of experience, for an entry-level job, all this kind of stuff. But then the other thing that I think is really hurting the industry as a whole is everyone, for some reason, wants someone who can kind of do both. They want someone who has all this technical knowledge, but also can talk to clients and people in business, and can get up and present, and can be on a podcast and do all that. And there's very few people, in my experience, who are really technically skilled and also who have social skill, the very strong social skills. That's like a very small group of people. And for some reason, a lot of positions are requiring both. And I don't think you really need both at the end of the day. You shouldn't anyways.